Welcome back, everyone. So glad you're here, and I wish all of you a happy new year. And I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for subscribing this channel and helping spread the word. I'm genuinely impressed how this channel grew into 1,000 subscribers in just 1 month. And as I promised, starting with this video and onwards, we will try to unfold the world around us through exploring new perspectives and various thinking models, especially focusing on systems thinking, bi weekly on Sunday evenings, London time. And this series is specifically designed for you if you wonder how to stay relevant in the early days of this AI age. Because with the rise of AI, the problem solution dynamics and how we see problems are about to change. Until AI reaches a full grown AGI, we will step by step outsource simple or less complicated tasks and problems to AI, and this new economy will demand talents to deal with high complexity problems by mastering AI. For this very reason, through our journey, we will unfold first what a problem is and how we recognize it, then what forces are at play for solution, how we prioritize individually and as a group or society, and how to trace the breadcrumbs to find out about the unseen sides of the situation. Then what are systems thinking, linear, reductionist, holistic, and circular thinking models, and how they can help understand complex problems and where to use them to develop interventions through defining leverages, and then how to research and understand causality. And next we will try to understand how can all these be communicated to system stakeholders, and how does language influence prioritizing research, choice of best solution, and implementation processes. And finally, how to integrate Machine 1.0 and 2.0 into our journey. I believe in making sense of how this world works through diverse aspects in different contexts is our key to unlock effective and sustainable solutions in this dizzying repertoire of change, regardless of the technological advances. As I have discussed in the previous sessions, we have started to close the era of knowledge economy and entering into the realm of AI economy. And similar to human intelligence became the currency of the knowledge economy, wisdom will become the currency of AI economy. And artificial intelligence will complement your intelligence to pursue the wisdom. Each and every one of you have experienced this life in your own terms and circumstances, developed skills to survive this jungle. Some of you are experts in engineering, some of you are arts and history nerds, and some of you figured out things that I have no idea about. But at the end of the day, all of you have developed an understanding of this world, which is entirely unique to you. And what I humbly offer is a couple of different lenses I use frequently that can help you too to change the angles you look at the events, to shed some light onto potentially unseen parts. Because what is true and always true is that reality has many faces. Which face you look to depends on your own will and your own thoughts. What matters is seeing all those faces of reality without the prejudice to ensure we are exploring the dark side of the moon, right? What matters is grasping wisdom rather than being proven right by the others, because wisdom makes us human, not technology, and certainly not ideologies. Walking down on this path to wisdom, we have unfolded a refreshing perspective on today's economic shift, which briefly explores the problem solution dynamics over the ages in the AI economy miniseries. And if you haven't watched already, you can find this series on the iCard. This problem solution dynamics will be one of the themes across the videos of this channel, because seeing reality through this lens makes it easier to understand the complexity we are all in, and helps you dissecting our emotions, facts, and elements of the system properly from one another. It is useful for comprehending any systems from psychology to business to international politics. And in this video, we will first look at what a problem is, how we recognize and define it, and then briefly enter into the realm of systems. Actually, this approach is unorthodox to general practices in teaching systems thinking, where the trainer usually begins with covering the topic of what the system is. But I found it useful to define what a problem is, because system perspective is simply an approach to understand and intervene complex problems, and everything is somehow related to our problems, right? As a matter of fact, problems are the roots of any market you can think of today. That is, every market is fundamentally a solution market addressing some problem or problems. Taking it one step further, not just think of traditional markets, actually all the religion, social rules and orders are kind of solution markets we have developed throughout history, as you may remember from the part 1 of AI economy video. And certainly the idea of science is built upon our perception of problems and handling of problems. And this centricity of problem in our world is not limited to social life, and definitely not limited to Homo sapiens. We are indeed proof that the whole evolution is centered around problems. So adapt and survive, or fail and vanish. That's how essential this concept of problem is for us to internalize, especially in the early days of AI, which can change thousands of years of our relationship with problem handling and its centricity for our cultures, because we have just created a machine that can solve for us, and it's becoming better than us, right? Let me say it very slowly once again. Our definition and perception of problem is about change. And that's a pivotal moment in our evolution and a grand shift of paradigm for all of us. And we will unfold this more through this system thinking series. But before anything else, let's first look at what a problem is. Standard Cambridge Dictionary defines a problem as something that causes difficulty or that is hard to deal with, which we all are familiar with. However, this use for meaning difficulty is rather new. From the etymological perspective, the word comes from the Greek problema, which comes from pro and ballon. Pro meaning forward and ballon meaning to throw, which literally means throwing for a situation or a question. This simply denotes an externalization of one's inability to understand something tacitly. Think of the term ballistic, which has the same root of ballon. A problem is externalized from your mind to your mouth when you state it, like throwing a ballistic missile from the weapon to a target. Yet, problem gained its popularity as meaning difficult around the 16th century in mathematics, yet its general use for indicating a difficult or complex situation was first attested when it was used as a term in the Jewish problem in 1882. Think you noticed a pattern. It began as an externalization of inability to comprehend, and then it became synonymous with difficulty as we try to understand this complex world around us, especially in academia, and then for the general public. And possibly in a couple of years or maybe decades, we will see its detachment from meaning difficult as AI became more capable of dealing with problems. So, how to define problem for this modern era, especially by detaching it from being the manifestation of difficulty, right? In a very broad terms, a problem is a mismatch between a desired state and the current state. For example, suppose you have just moved to a hot desert climate because let's say, you started working for a new company in that city, which became your current state, and you want to have a better air, which is your desired state. So the problem is indeed a gap between current state and a desired state. In this case, it is the heat difference. So How can you solve this problem? Well, it depends on many parameters, right? For example, how long do you plan to stay there? Like, do you plan to settle down in that city or is it temporary? How much budget you have for this solution? How does situation affect you? I mean, it can affect you a lot if you're used to live in colder climates, right? But if you are used to hot climate, then maybe the perceived difference will be lesser. So, your selection of solutions depends on many parameters. Now, let's try to make our definition of problem more precise because the difference between your current state and desired state can be larger or smaller depending on your perception, which depends on how much you are accustomed to heat in this case. And the selection of solutions can also vary a lot due to other interconnected parameters like planned state duration, budget, etc. Thus, a more accurate definition of a problem would be the actual or perceived discrepancy between a desired state and the current state, influenced by interconnected variables and constraints. Why do I think this definition is a better fit for our modern context? First, it's clarity for action orientedness. It clearly defines a problem as a gap and dissects emotions, facts, and elements related to the states and leads you to a goal by helping you to define the gap, guiding you towards thinking on it and how to bridge that gap. And second one is its universality. This definition can be applied to various contexts from personal growth to organizational strategy, societal and scientific challenges, etc. And furthermore, this definition is also parallel to the theory of evolution. Every living being, from microorganisms to plants to animals, face problems as their environment transforms and they develop survival mechanisms or strategies to cope with them, and not consciously, of course, because evolution doesn't have a conscious as far as we know. But the whole idea of evolution is built upon adaptation to changes in the environment. And this brings us the types of changes that induce a problem. There are categorically two types of changes. First one is environmental changes, like in the evolution case, or in general changes you are exposed to in the physical world. We can also call this category like external factors, external changes to fit into a broader perspective. And there are also mindset changes, which, as the name suggests, happens when we decide to pursue a different state than we are currently in. And this can be as simple as deciding to lose weight after facing some troubles due to being overweight, or as complex as changing the world for better after dealing with injustice. And this sets the stage for recognition of a problem. As the etymology suggests, a problem becomes a problem when it's externalized or being spoken, like throwing forth from your mind, and this leads to active search for a solution. But how do we recognize a problem at the first place? Well, for us humans, it begins with conscious experience triggered by attention. We have talked about conscious experience and attention previously on this channel. You can watch Unfolding the Only Skill That Will Matter in the AI Economy video for more. I will leave the link in the description and iCard. If you haven't watched already, here's my attempt to describe it. Conscious experience is triggered by an input that nudges your attention, and attention calls for your conscious mind, and our conscious mind processes every interaction as well as creating reactions and storing outcomes of those actions through relevant mechanisms which are unique to you during the engagement period. That means the first step for recognizing a problem begins with an input nudging your attention, where attention brings forth your conscious mind to experience that input and judge or decide what to do. So we can say that a change happens in some unknown past and it stays under the radar until the input or the cumulative effect of change reaches a certain threshold that nudges our attention. That is, you start with your current state equal to some desired state, and with the interaction of the input, either your desired state alters and you notice your current state is not a desired state anymore, or your current state alters and you feel like you are diverging from the desired state. In any case, there could be many triggers to grab your attention. But in this case of recognizing a problem, it's usually some sort of discomfort, which can be physical discomfort, like having dry eyes, itching because of maybe dry air or your screen time, or your extra pounds causing restrictive mobility, etc. Or it can be emotional discomfort, like feeling ignored when you must need it, or it can be cognitive discomfort, like your manager pushing you to do something logically wrong, but you have no other option but to perform this task. These discomforts are the gaps caused by either environmental changes or mindset changes, or both of them sometimes. And as the subject gets more aware of this discomfort, usually he or she prompts the following questions in their head. They are: how is this situation relevant to me? Can I deal with it? And how urgent is this to be addressed? At this point, what happens is that current state feels like diverging from your desired state, and depending on the answers and your elaboration of the situation, they might converge again in your mind. The desired state and the current state converge again in your mind and solve the conflict artificially, which can be called reasoning for ignorance. Or they might stay acknowledged and simply be ignored because either you don't have the capability to deal with it at that time, or it might not be so urgent to be addressed, or divergence becomes concrete and creates an urge to address, which is the recognition of problem. And believe it or not, almost all of the sales and marketing tactics target these three questions and try to establish a cognitive or emotional gap to persuade you to act, which becomes the sales. So we will talk about this communication tactics and persuasion and storytelling once we are done with system thinking. If you don't want to miss, I suggest you subscribe and ring the bell button now. So what happens when a problem is recognized? Enter prioritization. Prioritization is about deciding where this recognized problem sits among all of the demands on your time and energy. Once you are aware of the problem, you must weigh it against everything else in your personal or professional life, right? Does it warrant immediate attention or can it wait? Is it more impactful than other issues on your plate? By asking questions like these, you rank your problems based on criteria such as urgency, risk, potential benefits, or available resources, or something like that. Sometimes at this stage, people can change the threshold level if the effort seems more unbearable than the discomfort and match desired state with the current state unwillingly. And this step is also the most critical one because many people either jump into solving the wrong problem first or try to juggle too many problems, causing overwhelm and inefficiency. After deciding its prioritization, then starts seeking for solution. This involves brainstorming, researching, and identifying possible methods to close the gap between the current state and your desired state. Here, you might tap into various resources like expert advice, personal experience, AI tools, collaboration with peers, etc. The key is to stay open to multiple options and be willing to iterate. Sometimes the first solution that comes to your mind isn't always the most effective one, right? It might be quick but not sustainable. Staying curious and testing different angles helps ensure you are selecting approaches that genuinely move you towards solving the problem. And once a promising solution is chosen, it's time to act. So begins the implementation stage, where the ideas are put into practice, often in small and manageable steps or phases. You monitor progress, gather feedback, and remain adaptable if unexpected challenges arise. The real world rarely aligns perfectly with our plans, right? So the continuous evaluation and learning from each step are crucial. This iterative cycle, taking action, measuring results, and refining the approach, helps ensure your solutions not only solves the immediate gap but also remains relevant against future challenges or unintended consequences. We will talk about this prioritization, seeking alternatives, and implementing solutions more in the following sessions. But the main takeaway of this session is to underline the complexity of a problem and recognition and road to solution is not as a straightforward process. This better definition of problem, where we define it as a gap between desired and current states influenced by interconnected variables and constraints, show that our environment, our mindset, our resources, and our biases and our interactions with others can create a web of cause and effect, which we don't initially see, and this makes our road to solution complicated. And this is where systems thinking steps in. It gives us a framework to map out these connections, unfold, reveal, and understand hidden feedback loops, and identify leverage points where small changes can lead to big impacts. So, in the following parts of this series, we will cover how to find and map connections to see feedback loops, where to find leverage points, and how to intervene. And with the help of AI tools, we will be able to outsource our basic problems and automate their solutions, which will open a new chapter for us so that we can focus on more complex issues and use AI's competing power and capabilities to brainstorm, define, and find solutions for these complex problems much easier than ever. We are the apex problem solving machines of biological evolution, and we reached to a point where we created a derivative of our intelligence, AI, with increasing capability to solve better day by day. And this approach positions AI as a complementary tool to human intelligence, where together they close each other's gaps and mitigate their fallacies while creating something meaningful and sustainable rather than seeing AI as a competing entity. So, what is a system? In simpler terms, a system is a group of things working together inside a known or unknown boundaries with a purpose or designated function where each part affects and is affected by the others to create a whole greater than the sum of its parts. So, as this definition reveals, there are four things that define a system. There are system components or parts or elements, system boundary, system purpose or function, and interconnections. Systems can be as mundane as football teams with a purpose to be the champ of the league, or be as fascinating as the universe, where its purpose is not perceptible to us. In fact, just like we have grouped changes that induce problems into two groups, environment changes and mindset changes, you remember, we have kind of their counterparts when we want to divide systems. They are natural systems, or more technically called as non-anthropogenic systems, where the system has no human related components and bounded by the universal physics law, like galactic systems, ecosystems, biological systems, predator prey systems, or pollination network systems. And the second one is human systems, or technical name is social technical systems, which are based on primary interaction mechanisms like human, human tech, human nature, or any combination with human. They include, surprise, surprise, human. And these are the systems like economic systems, political systems, information systems, infrastructural systems, urban systems, energy systems. You get the idea. And there is also a recent third-ish group which can be called autonomous mission systems, like AI, where humans set the function or the purpose of the machine and leave the system to let the machines work itself out. But some academicians see these autonomous machine systems under non-anthropogenic systems, as humans have no role but just set the function. These are the main system groups. And conveniently enough, the components of this system can also be divided into two groups. They are tangible, like parts of a machine, or intangible, like roles in an organization, social norms in a community, etc. This same division principle is also true for boundaries. There are tangible boundaries like walls of a room or the perimeter of a manufacturing site, and intangible boundaries like our mental boundaries or emotional boundaries. Why am I dividing things into two groups constantly like a toddler who recently learned what a circle is and is not? Because we have a tendency to focus heavily on tangible things because of our education system and culture in general. We usually miss to count on intangible aspects of any system. So it's better to count this perspective into our neurons in the early stage of this learning system thinking series. When we say it's all connected, we are acknowledging that seemingly separate and forgotten pieces can influence each other in ways that are not obvious at the first glance or even at second glance. So why system thinking is important for problem solving? When you view a problem through a systems lens, you look beyond surface level systems. Remind yourself of forgotten aspects of problem and examine how different parts of the system interact. You might experience by now that solving one part of a problem creates unintended side effects elsewhere, or that a seemingly minor intervention in one area can trigger a cascade of positive or negative changes across the whole system. In other words, systems thinking helps you avoid quick fixes that create more problems than they solve. Encourage you to spot leverage points for more effective interventions, teaches you to appreciate the dynamic and evolving nature of real world problems. Whether you are dealing with personal challenges, professional projects, social issues, or technological transformations, systems thinking equips you with a mental toolkit to approach complexity more holistically, enabling sustainable and more impactful solutions. In this video, we explore what a problem is, how it is recognized, and how we progress from prioritization to seeking solutions and implementation. We also introduce the concept of systems and systems thinking, setting the stage for our deeper dive into how interconnectedness and feedback can influence problem solving. Stay tuned for the next video where we will explore the fundamentals of systems thinking in more detail and start building the mental frameworks to apply it in real life scenarios. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. Until next time, stay curious and keep looking at your problems from new angles.